So now we will discuss about Palo Alto appliances. What are the hardware appliances there are? Okay, so we will discuss about them. So Palo Alto do offer, hardware appliance, or this offers a virtual machine as well. So either you can use virtual appliance or you can use physical appliance in your network, right? So let's talk about Palo Alto physical appliance firewall, and we have a different model of the firewall which having the different capacity. Okay, so we have 4K series, 2K series. Okay, we have a 5K series as well. Okay, so what are the differences? So differences is their capacity in terms of processing power and number of sessions, throughput, etc. So those are the different capacity. So if we talk about PA 4060, 4050 and 4020, these are the model. By default, if we talk about 4060, the 4060 firewall does support 10 Gbps firewall throughput. That means if you have a firewall and you are sending the traffic, let's say from in to out interface, so you can send the traffic up to 10 Gbps and your firewall would process the traffic without any issue. If the traffic is more than that, then you have to use different firewall. But this 4060 does support 10 Gbps firewall throughput. With the firewall, if you enable threat protection, that means you have the firewall filtering, plus you have enabled IPS blade, which is threat protection. So throughput would reduce. With the firewall and IPS, this would support 5 Gbps. Number of session you can create this much, and it has the 10 gig SFP, basically 10 gig SFP and 4 SFP for 1 gig. So that means 4 interface that you can use as a 10 gig and 4 interface that you can use as the 1 gig. So this is a PA 4K series. If we go to 2K series 2050, so this support 1 Gbps firewall throughput, 500 Mbps it would be supporting if you enable threat prevention, and 250,000 session you can create per maximum. Okay, at a time 250,000 session can be created, and then 16 interface you would get copper, and 4 interface you would get SFP. Okay, so these are the fixed interface. This is SFP based. Now if we move to next and discuss about other series as well. So let's go to 3050 series. Okay, this is 3K series. In 3K series, you would see that firewall throughput is 4 Gbps with application ID enabled. That means your firewall, when you enable application ID, even though your firewall would be able to filter 4 Gbps traffic per second, and if you enable threat prevention blade, so throughput would be 2 Gbps. For IPsec VPN throughput, it would be supporting 500 Mbps. That means, let's say you have a tunnel. This is, let's say, VPN tunnel. So on the VPN tunnel, if we are sending the traffic with the speed of 500 Mbps, so that would be okay. If there is a more than that traffic, then this firewall would be start dropping the connection. Maximum session you can create 500,000 you can create maximum session, and 50,000 new session per second it can create. So in a second, in per second, it can create 50,000 new session. It does support IPsec. So how many tunnel you can create? Maximum you can create 2000 VPN tunnel. That means with the firewall, 2000 VPN connection you can create. That is IPsec VPN tunnel. And SSL VPN you can create 200,000 as well. That means this is a SSL based client based VPN. So you can create 2000 session.
If you allow, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the 400 Mbps, the third point, IPsec VPN throughput. So it means it is for the overall VPN's bandwidth or a single VPN bandwidth we can assign.
This is overall.
Overall capacity means maximum means if we have more than 1000 VPN and all the VPNs throughput, overall throughput is, if it is increasing more than 500 Mbps, then it will not work, correct?
Right.
Okay. So that means we need to remember this point as well.
Right.
Gotcha.
Now let's talk about virtual router. So Palo Alto do have the virtualization for the router as well. That means to segregate the routing table, there is a concept of virtual router. So within this Palo Alto, you can create number of virtual router. And how many virtual router you can create? Maximum 10 virtual router you can create. So you might have heard about this VRF concept. Have you heard about this VRF in Cisco?
Yes.
This is our virtualization itself. So if you just want to segregate your routing table, so how you can segregate your routing table? By creating a VRF. Similarly here as well in Palo Alto, you can segregate routing table by creating a virtual router. By default, all the interface of the checkpoint, of this Palo Alto firewall would be part of default virtual router. Default virtual router. That means a routing for the all interfaces would be storing in this default routing table. But if you create your customized virtual router and four of the interface, let's say four of the interface you have assigned for the virtual router 1 and four of the interface you have assigned for virtual router 2. So that's a possible. That means whatever the interface on virtual router 2, they cannot communicate to virtual router 1 without any route segregation. Without any kind of layer 3 routing. So using virtual router, you can segregate virtual router table. Routing table. Then the next concept here in Palo Alto, there is a virtual system. So maximum virtual system you can create 7. Okay. Single virtual system you would have by default, and maximum you can create, 6 total you can create. All right, so you can create maximum virtual system 6. What is the virtual system basically? This is a virtualization of firewall itself. So you might have heard about context in Cisco world.
So 1/6 means 1 is for the whole chassis and 6 for virtual system.
Right. Maximum you can create till 6 virtual firewall you can create within this.
Perfect.
By default, that would come with 1. Okay. So if you would not create any virtual system, so by default that would be considered single firewall. But within the firewall, you just want to create a virtual firewall, so that you can create using VSys virtual system, and maximum you can create 6 virtual firewall. That means virtual system. Security zone. So Palo Alto does support security zone. That's this interface you are going to assign into the security zone. So maximum security zone you can create 40. And maximum number of policy within this Palo Alto firewall you create 5,000. That means number of policy rule you can create maximum 5,000. Okay. And now moving to next series of the firewall. And this is a 5060 series, 5K series. 5K series is for the enterprise. That means on if you have big data center or huge data center over there, if the firewall need to process the traffic, so usually organization place these series of the firewall, 5000 series of the firewall. This is really huge firewall. And if you see the capacity, so you can see that firewall capacity is 20 Gbps. With threat prevention, it can handle 10 Gbps traffic. 4 Gbps traffic it can handle for IPsec VPN. 20,000 SSL VPN user can be connected, and number of session can be 400,000. So that's number of session can be created. Up to how many virtual system you can create? 225 virtual system you can create. 4 SFP would be with 10 gig, 8 SFP would be with 1 gig, and 12 interfaces with the 1 gig. These are the copper actually, copper based interface. So then we have a 5050 series of the firewall. Okay, so you can see the capacity, and 5020 series of the firewall, you can see the capacity. So these firewall, these are the enterprise based firewall. When I say enterprise, that means this can be used in the data center. If you have used data centers, you would see these series of firewall. Yeah. Now moving to next. And there are a few things that we need to consider. Whatever the high-end model we will use in our organization. Okay, so let's say we have purchased high-end model, but the feature would only enabled when we purchase the license. For example, you purchase 5060 series, which is high-end model. Let's say you have purchased this, but it has a different features like different throughput, different VCs, okay, different IPS throughput it have. But if you do not install the license, those feature would be useless. Okay, you have to purchase a valid license. Okay, then you can use the feature. Also, the high-end model have the hot swappable fan. That means if you just want to plug out the fan and you just want to plug in, so you don't need to turn off. Okay, power supply and fan you can change when the system is on. The high-end model do support dual solid state hard drive. That means on high-end it has that is SSD based, and you would see 2 SSD at least. Okay, it has a dedicated HA and management interface. So we'll discuss about that. What is the HA and management interface? Basically, a firewall used to configure into the cluster. Okay, so to configure the cluster, there is a dedicated port for HA. Okay, that's a high availability. Basically, that would be used for the sync. So it has a dedicated HA interface. Okay, HA1, HA2, HA3. These are the dedicated interface it have. Plus, to access the firewall, there is a dedicated management interface. To access the firewall. Okay, so if you just want to configure the firewall, you would be accessing through the management to the firewall. You can access through management or you can access through console port. Okay, so usually we used to access through management. For first time configuration, we used to access through console port. And the size of the firewall, which would be mounted on the rack, it's a 2U. So it would be taking 2U space on your rack.
So okay, so 2U for all models, right?
2U for all models. I mean high-end model. Some of the model taking 1U as well. Like if you go with the lower model PA220, so this is taking 1U.
So the latest version we have 5K model. 5.0.
5K is the high-end model. So it's taking 2U.
Perfect. So okay, sorry. Just repeat one. This third point. What does it mean? Solid state hard drive.
Third point is means that's this is SSD hard drive. This is not having disk based hard disk, but this is SSD actually.
Oh,
Now moving to next one. This is 2K series of appliances. So we have already talked about 2K series of appliances. Okay. Now let's go and understand the management. So now this is we are discussing about the Panorama. So M100 is nothing but this is Panorama model. As I told you earlier, what is Panorama? Panorama is a management device which allow you to manage different firewall through it, and those firewall can send the logs to this Panorama device. So this is the Panorama. Panorama has a different model, M100, M500. So these are the model number of Panorama. Panorama you can install as a virtual system as well. When I say as a virtual system, that means you can install on the VMware as a virtual appliances. Okay, so either you can purchase a dedicated hardware for Panorama, which is M100 or M500, or you can go and install on the VMware itself. Okay, so benefit when you are using Panorama, what the benefit you would get? Again, I'm telling you, Panorama is a central management device. So let's say you have before Panorama, let's understand the issue. Let's say you have a gateway at a different location. So let's say this firewall you have in UK location, which is protecting your UK data center. You have another firewall, let's say in India location, which is protecting your India data center. And you have another firewall, let's say in US location, which is protecting your US data center. Firewall in US. So now you have three data center, UK, India, and US. As an admin, let's say you want to apply a policy. Let's say someone is saying that, let's say there is a malicious IP that is 100.0.0.5. Let's say this is malicious IP, and someone is said that please block this malicious IP on all the data center, or we can say blacklist this IP on all the data centers. So what you need to do, you need to create a rule to block this, to blacklist this. So where you would be creating rule? First, you would log in on the UK firewall. You would be creating a rule. Then you need to log in on India firewall. Then you need to create a rule. Then log in on US firewall. Then you need to create a rule. Okay. Someone saying that let's check who has access this 100.5. That means sorry, this IP, who all the user from all the data center, how many hits on this particular IP. So what you need to do, you need to individually log in on the firewall and check the logs, that for source you would say any, and destination you would say this IP. Okay, and action you would say allow or deny. So you have to filter the logs in each firewall. You have to log in on each firewall, and then you have to check the logs. Okay, you want to avoid this because let's say you have 3 data center, but maybe in real life you have more data center, and you just want to avoid this, that you don't want to log in on each firewall. Okay, on that cases, what you can do, you can use Panorama. Okay, so if you have Panorama, you can integrate all these firewall into the Panorama. Okay, and you just need to, if you require to blacklist this IP, you just log in the Panorama. From Panorama, you can choose the policy template of this particular UK firewall, block that there, copy the rule put that rule in India firewall, copy the rule, put rule into the US firewall. And now if you're required to browse the log or search the log, so you just go to logging and search the logs for this IP. So whatever IP, whatever the firewall is allowing or denying this IP, they would be showing the logs in the Panorama. That means from this central location, you can access all the firewall for creating the policy or for change for any changes. You don't need to log in on individual firewall. Okay, so this Panorama is nothing but this is a management device which would allow you to create the policy, commit the policy in the firewall, and also firewall can send their logs to Panorama. Okay, so this is the benefit when you are using Panorama. This is a central management device.
So, so in one word, we can say this is for the log management as well as for the policy management and monitoring.
Right.